John wants to know if your clothing is on camera. In other words, he wants to know what you're wearing.
I said, are the compression shorts on camera?
So,
Zoom in.
so, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another CHG Weekly Recap. If you're joining us for the first time or haven't been here for a while, we sit down and we give you an insight into what it's like to live a week in a business owner's shoes. So, we're going to recap our weeks on the Weekly Recap. I'd like to start here with Mr. Igor Ilyich Hernandez.
No, this week's been pretty standard. We have somebody starting, well, it's supposed to be starting next week, but it's starting tomorrow now because we got called for trial and the role involves trial support and shit like that. So it kind of moved our whole timeline a little bit. But I spent the week just building the onboarding so that when she started to be like all trained up and like ready to go in about a week and a half. And now like none of that's going to matter, at least for the next week, because basically she's starting and getting thrown right into the fire of trial. And so like no training, no nothing. But obviously it's a position that comes with a significant amount of experience, so she has all the tools to do what she's supposed to do. It's just I wanted to like get her trained right in the way that we do things, so I kind of said before she did anything. So it didn't happen, but at least all of that's built up for next week when she's out of trial and we can do the onboarding and shit like that. And then other than that, roll out new systems, roll out new software. Now we got like HR software, so like we can actually have all our people in one place and like do the evaluations like in modern times, not fucking keeping notes in a folder somewhere that nobody sees, basically. So I did spend a lot of time trying to set that up and set it all right. And delegating, one got promoted to office manager last week, so spent a lot of this week just handing off stuff that was on my plate that it's going to be on his plate now, so I don't have to do it. He'll be responsible for it. So, but that's pretty much it. Nothing too interesting. I took a couple depots. Actually took a depot in a case where a client got really fucked up, really injured by a guy. And it turned out when I took this depot, the guy's like 100 years old. He's like an orthopedic surgeon. He's retired, but he's literally like 100 years old. And it was kind of sad to do the depot because he wasn't really all there. Like he didn't really, he was talking about like, oh, the accident, I felt like it wasn't a significant impact, this and that. Meanwhile, like the cars looked like a bomb exploded. Like they were both total, all the airbags deployed. Like it was just kind of sad to sit there because it gave me that thought that maybe at some point I'd be that guy, like 60 years from now, be sitting somewhere not really like knowing what's going on around me all that much, which wasn't a very pleasant thought. But yeah, that's about it, man. That's what I did this week.
You'll have a chauffeur by then.
Probably. Hopefully he won't crash into somebody. What did you do, bro?
This week was all about building some systems. One of the core of the marketing department is making sure that we have the correct data in the correct places so that we can make good decisions in the future. And so I've been putting together a system to collect that data now, basically from scratch, and we're going to use that. It's going to be manual at first, and then over time it'll be automated. Also, we made the decision to move from our old CRM, client relationship manager, to a new CRM, so we're getting that going. It's pretty exciting. It's kind of nerdy to say it's exciting, but they have like a whiteboard that allows you to make a flow chart for what happens when and who's going to do what by when. And it turns out the computer is going to do a lot by certain times. So that's pretty cool. And that's pretty much it. That's what I've been up to. This is a delicious drink, by the way. Anyhow, yeah, so that's what I've been up to. I've been trying to take only scalable actions. It's hard to do, but basically make sure that everything I do is something that's written down and that other people can do for me after we pass it off. But that entails developing systems. And that takes time. So we're taking it step by step and doing it day by day and using whatever old cliche. John Sullivan, what you been up to, man?
Well, less important than what I've been doing is what I'm about to be doing.
Okay.
And so, your boy's stepping back into the arena on Monday. Now, you got to hear the story about how this happened, because as the week was going on, I'm going through my normal week, taking some depots.
Do you remember when John was like nervous about weekly recaps?
So, I'm going through my normal routine, taking depots, doing some research, filing, whatever. And separate from all that, we had Igor prepping up this case. It was supposed to be him and our associate Ira going to trial. But that was when they were like number 5 on the trial list. And then all of a sudden...
What do you think changed, John?
Well, something changed. They became number 1 for trial.
And then what happened after that?
Igor was like, whoa, bro, I got emotion next week. I can't try this case, bro. Someone's gonna try this case. And so, of course, I had to, Igor, relax, bro. It's just a trial. I'll handle it. And then all of a sudden he was like, I'll cover your depots next week, bro. I'll cover whatever you got, bro. So of course we're swapping roles next week. We got to keep Igor as far away from the trials because we need to keep his blood pressure down because we need him here to handle operations.
Right, the trauma that is communism really gets you.
Yeah, take depositions and argue motions. So we're gonna keep him in his element next week, and I'll stay in mine. And as is always the case, I'm gonna take us into the end zone. You're welcome. You're welcome.
We appreciate you.
But other than that, that's pretty much what I'm gonna be up to. Compression shorts. What have you been up to?
Oh, fuck this guy. So basically, I just got back in town this past week. I was in Puerto Rico for
business?
No, for only pleasure, and it was very pleasurable. I for the first time actually ever, I had
to go down to the public till.
I mean, listen, everybody should have some pleasure from time to time. But yeah, it was the first time actually ever I'd taken like a proper surf trip, and I was able to kind of get away for 5 or 6 days and just do the most amount of surfing I've ever done in my life. It was great. It was just really awesome to kind of disconnect. Caught up with a couple of my dad's old like surf buddies from back in the 70s and 80s, and they just kind of showed me around like his old surf spots and stuff like that. And that was pretty much it. In terms of like this week, what I did was really just kind of catch up on a bunch of emails. Igor and I had a meeting this week in reference to some key performance indicators and stuff like that for our pre-suit division. Frankly, the past 3 months I've been, playing a ton of catch up, which is a nice way to say not really getting all the stuff done I needed to on the pre-suit side, just because we had the tort reform, sprint going on when the law was changing. So we were signing up a bunch of cases there and getting those cases into lit. And then Cam and I were actually prepping like 3 different cases for trial, and then ended up going to trial in one of those cases. And, although the trial lasted about a week, the prep and doing everything for that lasted about 2 to 3 before that trial even took place. So it's just been a ton of catch up. And so this week it's just been trying to kind of get back on top of things, on getting those KPIs kind of in place for our staff, looking about different ways that we can actually leverage, our position and roles as managers and just kind of do a better job. Because, a lot of the time the reason why your staff, if there is ever any issues, it's not their fault, it's their leader's fault or the manager's fault and stuff like that. So, trying to make sure that I don't, cause any issues there, and I just kind of hold up my end of the bargain. And that's pretty much it. I actually, you know what, I did have an examination under oath that's worth talking about.
John wants to know if your clothing is on camera. In other words, he wants to know what you're wearing.
I said, are the compression shorts on camera?
So
zoom in.
So what I was starting to say is that I did have an examination under oath, which was kind of interesting. So I had my case manager in the call with me, and some shady adjuster from the insurance company was the one that was leading it, taking a recorded statement from our client. And the thing was kind of interesting, and I guess it's just like the difference between an attorney and like a non-attorney, which frankly there's plenty of attorneys that would have fucking done the same kind of thing. But he was asking clients some questions, one specifically about like where she was living at the time of the accident, to kind of see whether or not she would actually be covered. And she said the address that was on her driver's license. Now the thing is, she lived in multiple locations. She had a couple different places. So we get towards the end, he says that he's done with his questions, and me, because it's not a depot, and I'm not really communicating with the witness, I can't even question him, our witness. I let the adjuster know. I was like, hey, listen, just to give you an idea, I want to make sure you can kind of conduct your investigation as thoroughly as you need to. She lives actually in another location as well. That's just one of the places she lives. And his response was like, okay, thanks, let me clarify and just kind of get to the bottom of that. His response was, well, that's not what she said. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I know, that's why I'm telling you. Yeah, but she didn't respond with that. So if she wanted to say it, she could have said it. I was like, all right, my man. I was like, listen, I'm just trying to tell you so you can kind of do your investigation. If you don't want to ask the question, that's fine. So he ends the recorded statement, and I have this feeling that he's going to try to write a denial letter for her personal injury protection insurance, based on that, which should be interesting, because then I obviously, in anticipation of that, sent him a letter back, just kind of making sure that it was in writing that he, knew this information before. So it was just kind of weird just to kind of see how that unfolded. But yeah, that was pretty much what I got into this past week, and we'll see how that all goes.
So you may notice that we have a gentleman here who is not in CHC. It's because it's a very special guest. But no, a good friend of mine who I've known since high school, and his name is Luis Suarez. So let's find out what the hell Luis Suarez has been up to this past week. What you been up to, man?
Yeah, guess a whole lot of different things. I think I find myself in an interesting situation professionally where I'm now working for a law firm doing some consulting, and I think part of what I've learned along the process, especially this week, is it's important to surround yourself around people who want to improve themselves. themselves, people who want to learn about best practices and continue to grow. So it's important for myself and anyone who wants to continue to grow their business to surround themselves with people who have that same mindset. And that's kind of what brought me here today.
Legit. So one last thing for Luis Suarez. If anybody's looking out there, Luis Suarez is one of the best salesmen that I've ever seen operate in person. And if anybody out there is looking for a sales team manager, you could not do better than this guy right over here. So take a look and give him up a call. He'll be linked in the description below. It's social media, so you can be social.
This is true.
And reach out through that media. Anyway, so now John's got to go take his kids to soccer. Right?
No. Skating.
Oh, it's soccer on ice. Oh,
man.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking
God
news.
damn.
John Sullivan will not be stepping into the arena tomorrow because they found out he was on the case and they knew what they had to do. They had to pay the money.
Now, notice though.
Oh, no
that-
coffee.
Well, no, let's be clear.
Oh,
Let's be clear.
Put that coffee down.
Let's be clear.
Listen. Just stop. So the reason this case settled is because I heard this fucking duck was going to be in trial, and somebody called the real closer at the firm to see if we can. It was about time for us to make some money. So me, the guy that's not in this case, that knows nothing about the case, had to take a phone call from some, and all of a sudden the dude's engaged in these backdoor negotiations, and next thing you know. The case, the case was settled. So you're welcome, John. You don't,
I gotta clarify. I just want to say,
Igor's feeling good now. No trial.
I just want to say what John said was accurate about how the handoff happened. Obviously, there's a lot more details into that we're not going to get into, but
Igor doesn't want to get into that sort of
factually, the factual presentation was accurate. Just the way that it was presented left a lot to be desired. But
I
the
would
facts
say
were
that
accurate.
Igor's emotions could not have been accurate because Igor doesn't have emotions, and so that kind of explanation has to be wrong.
That's
They rarely
true.
come out. Trial tends to
But
do that.
with that said, Ira did a great job on this one. He's had it for like a year now. He really worked it up.
Good on you, Ira.
Had before and after witnesses lined up. He prepped the client a lot. It was a solid workup. So
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen who are watching us from whatever your device you're watching us from, raise whatever glass you have. Salud. Good week. Here's to another good one.